So row 1 of our 2-row repeat here is a knit row. The tricky part about this row is that we are going to knit, but we're going to knit out of sequence, which means we'll take some stitches that are further in on the left hand needle before the ones closest to the tip, and we're also going to be knitting into the back of the stitch. So our this would be a row 1 for a 2-row repeat. We'll start though by slipping 2 stitches. First you'll slip the first stitch as if to knit. The second stitch you will slip as if to purl. And then we're going to start working our stitches by knitting and into the back of these stitches. So if we turn our work a bit here, we're going to start working on the second stitch in from the left hand needle, and we're going to knit through the back. And now I'm holding my work as continental knitting just because it's a bit easier to manage those stitches. So I've knit through the back here, and I'm not going to take my loop off of the left hand needle until we then also do the same thing for the closer stitch here. So you're going to knit through the back there as well. And once those 2 stitches are knit, then we can take those 2 stitches off of our needle. And you'll continue that across the row, and at the very end it's an odd number of cast on stitches, so you'll just knit through the back for the final stitch as well. I'm going to show you that one more time, hopefully get a good view here. So you're going to work into the second stitch, second loop if you will, and you're going to work through the back and not take this stitch off the needle yet. Then we're going to knit the closer stitch to us through the back as well. And as you can imagine, these stitches can be a little tight. So if you're able to adjust your tension to knit pretty loosely here, that's going to be to your advantage for this stitch. You'll continue doing that across the row, knitting into the last stitch, and we'll meet you back for the second row for the repeat. Next we'll move on to a row 2 repeat. So this would be the row you stitch for any even numbered row for this pattern. Just like in row 1, we're going to slip our first 2 stitches. We're going to keep our yarn in the back, and we'll slip the first 2 stitches as if to purl. Then we'll bring our yarn to the front, and then we're going to work those stitches in the same sequence that we did for the knit row, but just with purl stitches. So we'll start with the second stitch in, we'll purl. We won't remove this stitch from the needle, and then we'll follow up with that second stitch. So we'll purl that stitch, and then purl the closer stitch. And then we'll carry those 2 stitches off the left and onto the right. And again, we will continue that across our row. You'll end with a single stitch, which you'll purl into at the end. This whole pattern is created by just repeating those 2 rows. And you've got a nice thickly woven texture as the result.